Good morning. Welcome to this special class with me, Karen Maidment from Soul Connection Yoga. Today we are celebrating World Bike Day and in fact a bike week with a special yoga class specifically for us cyclists. Hopefully you're getting lots of time in the saddle with this gorgeous weather, and today's practice is designed to unravel those areas of the body that get kind of tight and niggly from lots of time riding. And hopefully you're going to feel much better by the end of the practice. A couple of bits that will help you in your practice, particularly if you've got tight hamstrings, which I know most of us cyclists do. I'm going to use a couple of yoga blocks here, but you could go ahead and grab just a couple of books. Those would work quite well that are a similar size. So if you're here with me live right now, go ahead and grab those. I'll take a minute to get us into position so you've got time for those. All right, let's take a moment here in seated just to gather ourselves this morning. So go ahead and close the eyes down and find a place for the hands to rest where your shoulders feel relaxed. Think about those shoulder blades sinking down towards the hip bones. Bring your awareness to the area around your navel. And as you breathe in, feel that the belly rises out into the center of the room. And as you exhale, it draws back in towards the spine. 3 more of those breaths, allowing the belly to round out as you breathe in. Navel draws back to spine with the exhale. Seeing if you can find that breath in and out through the nose. Good. Go ahead and allow the chin to nod in towards the chest. You could keep the eyes closed here or open them up, it's your choice. Go ahead and take your left hand and bring it over the top of the head towards the opposite ear. Use the weight of that arm to ease the ear down towards the shoulder, finding that stretch through the top side of the neck. You go ahead and deepen that stretch by reaching out through your right arm. Perhaps the fingertips find the floor. Full exhale here. Good. Go ahead, release the head. Let it roll down towards the neck, opposite ear to opposite shoulder. We're going to take that neck stretch to the opposite side. Draw the ear down towards the shoulder, opposite arm reaching away. Fingertips might creep along the mat. Exhale here. Release the hand. Chin rolls down towards the neck, the chest. Look up, open eyes if they're still closed. We're going to come up to standing here, please. Find a comfortable distance with your feet and hips here. So perhaps a little bit wider than your hips. We're just going to start to lift up onto the toes and then bring those heels down to the floor. So nice simple movement up and down. You're going to carry on in standing. I'm going to come to kneeling just so that you can see the hand position here. So as you rise up onto tiptoes, I want you to press the heel of the hands forwards, make stop signs, and then take those stop signs all the way up to the ceiling, pushing up through the arm bones. Now, as the feet lower to the floor, the arms are going to swing behind you, making fists, drawing those knuckles up towards the ceiling. So you rise up onto tiptoes, heel of hands press up, and then you bring the heels down, make fists, and draw those knuckles up towards the ceiling. Come to standing so you can see the feet here for the last 3. Rise on up, tiptoes, make stop signs. Heels come down, knuckles roll back. Inhale to come up. Exhale as you take it back. Good, this will be our last. Heels come down, knuckles roll back. Lift those forearms up, hold it there for 5. Roll those knuckles up for 4, 3, 2, 1. And give those hands a little shake up. Good. You're going to stay here in standing. Again, I'm going to show you here in kneeling so you can see everything. I'd like you to raise your right arm up to the ceiling. Grow really tall through that side body. And now take the wrist with the opposite hand and draw the arm up. We're going to come into a side stretch, over to the side, pushing into the opposing foot. Release, swap sides. Find all of that length and space first as you draw up. Take your side bend and push into the opposite foot from which you're stretching. Good. Go ahead and release those hands, staying in your standing position here. Bring the chin in towards the chest. Start to curl the shoulders in towards your ribs as you roll the body down towards the floor. Knees can be nice and soft here. Hamstrings might be feeling tight at this time of the morning. Let your right hand stay on the floor. Make a fist with your left hand. I want you to pull that fist up towards your shoulder. Point that elbow to the ceiling and turn to look up over that elbow. Good. And we're going to go again. Shoot that fist down towards the floor and then draw it up. Can you find a nice rhythm of breath that works with that movement? Good. For the last one, draw the fist up, open the arm, and now heavily bend that right knee. Try and lengthen up through the back of that left thigh. Let the head go. Lifted arm sweeps down to the floor, and you're going to come to the opposite side. Making a fist with that right hand, drawing it up towards the elbow, turning to look up over that elbow. We take it down. Let's inhale, draw it up, and exhale, take it down. Good. This one we're going to pause. Take the arm all the way up. Could you spin those ribs to face those outstretched fingers? Left knee heavily bends, lifting up through the back of that right thigh. Good. Push down with the right foot. Go ahead and release two arms to the floor. Knees lower down and the toes untuck. So just see how that feels to sit back on your toes here. If you're not super comfortable, you could go ahead and take a block or one of your books and pop that underneath your seat. Interlace fingers and thumbs and then push the heel of the hands forwards. We're going to turn the heel of the hands up towards the ceiling, however far the shoulders will allow. Rise up out of your seat, press the hips forwards, engage those glutes, look up. Get a little bit of spine extension here. As you breathe out, turn the knuckles forwards. Lean your seat back to get that quad stretch. Meeting butt to heels or to that block. And then pull the chin to chest. We're going to take 3 more. Push it forwards, reach the heel of the hands up. Glutes engaged. Exhale. Try and lengthen that quads, tucking your tailbone under as you find your seat. Last one here. Breathe in. Breathing out. Good, really nice. Go ahead, release. Bring the fingertips down onto the floor. We're going to pop, if you've taken a block or a book, pop it out of the way. And now I'd like you to bring your right foot forwards into a lunge position. We're going to start with this 90-90 position. So front knee and ankle stacked, and then back knee and hip stacked. Raise the arms up. And as you lift up, can you bury the ribs down to your hip? Squeeze the glutes. You're going to get a good stretch through hip flexors here on this back leg. Good. Last breath here. Reach the hands out in front of you. You're going to cross your left arm over your right. Try and hug the shoulder blades here. Curl the chin down in towards the chest, taking a stretch through cervical spine. Breathing out. Look up. Shoot the fingertips up to the ceiling. So you might stay here with biceps crossed. You might cross the forearms and the hands. It's your choice how far you take it. Wherever you are, press the elbows forwards and reach the fingertips up. to deepen that shoulder stretch. We're going to twist over to this front bent leg, leading with the elbows. We'll twist and exhale. As you inhale, bring it to center. Exhale, we move again. Last one here. Yeah, bring it back to center for me. Unravel those arms, palms forwards, extend the fingertips down to the floor. So this is where you might want your blocks if the hamstrings are tight. Mine seem to be fairly permanently tight at the moment. So I'm going to go nice high level on the blocks. Again, you could use books here. Back toes tucked here for me. I'd like you to bring the front knee forwards, extend it past the toes, but squeeze these back glutes. And now drive the hip back, lengthen the front leg any amount. So you're going to push through the front foot here. And we'll repeat. We've come forwards, glutes engage, ribs lift. Exhale, we drive those hips back, pushing through the foot, chin to chest. We're taking 3 more here. This one's going to be my last. And as I bring the hips back this time, we're going to untuck the back toes, take your right block or book, pop it behind you so that you can walk the front foot back and come into a little bent leg seated position. So we've got sitting on our left heel, right foot stacked on the mat. Left arm, wrap and squeeze that bent knee in towards you. You're going to feel the spine is tall here. Right arm reaches up and rotates back as you turn ribs, arm to the back of the mat. And now let's turn that into a little flow. Get the energy moving. We'll sweep the arm forwards and we'll take it back. You might find that the pecs and the shoulders are pretty tight here. That would be very normal for us cyclists, whether you're a roadie or an off-road or a bit of both. Those pecs and shoulders are used to being in spinal flexion. So a bit of work this morning into some twists and some spinal extension to help counter that riding position. Good. Arm comes forwards. So we're going to do a funky little move with the feet here. Just want you to tuck the back toes, lift up, and now turn yourself to the left long edge of the mat. So feet are a little bit wider than hip distance here. Take either elbow with either hand and draw your body down to the mat. Let the head go. And likelihood is the neck is fairly stiff. So give it a little nod here. Give it a shake. Make sure it's released. If there's any more space to be had in the hamstrings, you could try and lengthen through the back of the thighs. Keep those knees bent. That way we know the stretch is happening in the hamstrings and not just in the low back. Go ahead and release the hands. Walk your hands around to the front of the mat and just spin on your feet there. Pop your block forwards or your book and bring 2 knees down to the mat. Sit back on your heels. Again, if that's not comfy, go ahead, take your block, pop your seat down there. Sweep your arms behind you now. You're going to interlace fingers and thumbs. We're going to look like this. Draw those knuckles down towards your heels. The very fronts of your shoulders here. Can you try and lengthen and broaden from that area? Let's check out how tight that might feel for you. You might notice that the ribs start to lift to make a little bit of space for tight shoulders. Definitely does for me. And if it's for you too, try and keep those ribs contained. Okay, let's release that out. Rise up off of those feet. We're going to bring our left foot forwards. Finding that 90-90 position again in the hip and that front knee. Arms rise up. Again, can you keep those ribs contained? And that might mean that the hands are a little wider than shoulders, and that is more than okay. Wrists come down to shoulder height, this time right arm on top of left. Hug those shoulder blades. Find that C-spine stretch, driving chin towards chest. If you lift the pelvis up and towards you more, squeeze back glutes, do you get a deeper hip flexor stretch, front of right hip? Release the arms, fingertips shoot to the ceiling, and now you could cross the forearms, maybe cross the palms, but certainly elbows press forwards, fingertips reach up. Let's take our twist, rotating from the navel all the way through to the gaze. Inhale, bring it back to center. Each time you exhale, find that twist. This is our last. Good. Unravel the arms, reach those fingertips down to the floor, palms facing forwards. And then hands find floor, block, or books. And we'll move into that little flow here for the hips and the ankles. Front knee extends past the toes, back glutes engaged. Good. Lift the ribs. Draw the hips back, push into the front foot. Curl the chin to chest. Now, as you move here, I want you to really find that movement smooth and steady through the hips. As you come forwards, a little bit of work into the ankle to mobilize. As you move back, a little bit more work to keep those hips level. Let's make this our last. As you take the hips back, left block or book, you could just sit on the heel here if you wanted to. I'm going to slide left foot in towards us. It's once you're there, right arm to left knee. Sit tall. Left arm reaches forwards. We're going to spiral that arm back. I'm looking out across those fingertips if that's available in the neck. So one of the things I notice for myself, particularly if I do a bit of road riding, which I don't do a lot, I tend to like to be more in the woods than here in the Forest of Dean, my neck gets pretty tight from that drop handlebar position. So trying to find some mobility in the neck by following the fingertips, it's an opportunity to ease out some of that tension. Bring that hand forwards, and we've got that little funky transition here. So rise up off your block, you can pop that at the front. Turn to the right side, long edge of the mat. Take either elbow with either hand and draw yourself down to the mat. Don't be concerned that the knees are soft here. In fact, I'd rather they were belly hanging out on the thighs. Keeping that contact, but lifting up through the backs of the knees, pushing down through the heels will also help to fire up those hamstrings. Okay, go ahead and release the arms. Just spin on the feet, turn your fingertips to the front of the mat, and we'll go ahead and take that kneeling position again, on the heels or on a block. A version of reverse prayer here is kind of like one of the best ways I know of to counter that spinal flexion from riding. Reach the arms behind you. 3 options here, taking either elbow and then drawing the shoulders out and away from each other whilst keeping those ribs down. More than that, you might bring palm on palm. That's as far as my shoulders will allow. But more than that, you could bring the palms together, fingers pointing towards the neck. Keep those ribs down. We're going to take 3 breaths here. Breathing in and breathing out through the nose. Go ahead and release, turn the palms forwards, reach through those fingertips. You can pop your blocks out of the way for me now. Bring the hands forward, toes tucked under. Spread the fingers and thumbs really wide and push through the arms. So imagine that you've got a wrinkled rug and you're trying to push the wrinkles out with the hands here. Now, as best you can, keep your weight back as you unravel the legs and lift your seat up to the ceiling for your version of downward facing dog. Pedaling out through the heels, one at a time. And again, checking the head, giving it a little shake and a nod to ensure it's releasing out. Can you take your feet as wide as the mat for me now, please? Rock your hips over to the left, squeezing that left heel closer to the floor as you bend the right knee. Opposite side, hips go to the right, heel squeezing to the mat, left knee bends. 2 more either side. So basically you're taking that same pedal position, but this time we're widen the feet and we're rocking the hips. Last one, side to side. Good. And then walk those feet into what feels like a normal distance for you and lower the knees to the mat. Turn your toes in and take your knees even wider. So mine are almost as wide as my mat here. Reach the arms forwards, palms on the floor, and then find that spinal flexion. So tuck the chin to chest, push up through the space between the shoulder blades, the rhomboids. Keep pushing the hands away, push that space up. So this stretch for the rhomboids here feels really freeing all the way into the back of the neck. Let the head go. Release that work. Walk your hands over to the left side of your mat. I'd like your hands to still be shoulder distance apart here. Keep walking them forwards until you can't maintain contact in seat and heels. Now right hand comes on top of left and you push those hands away. Push your seat to the floor and you may find that you get a stretch through the side of your right arm, waist and ribs. Take that top arm, post it underneath the bottom arm. And rather than trying to get your ear to the floor here, I just want you to push back of right hand into the floor and turn your right ear down. Both arms really active here. Go ahead and release. Bring the hands back to the center of your mat. Find that spinal flexion. Chin to chest, rounding out through the spine. So those of you who do yoga regularly, this would be a little bit like your cat in your cat-cow flow. Release that work. Bring the hands over to the right side of your mat. Wrist shoulder width apart. And then keep creeping the hands forwards whilst seat stays on the floor. Could you tuck tailbone under a little more here? Left hand on top of right. Push those arms, those hands away. And just notice where you feel that stretch. So for me right now, I've got a lot going on in my left shoulder and bicep, and actually less in the hip on this side. Okay, top arm goes underneath. Push the back of the hand into the mat, turn your left ear down. Stretch those two arms away from each other as you drive your seat to the heels. Go ahead and release. Walk it up, give those arms a little shake, bend the elbows and just shrug. So it's kind of like you're creating circles with the elbows. So you shrug those shoulders back, leading with the elbows. Good. All right. Sweep your feet out in front of you, coming to the last little bit of our practice this morning. This is probably one of my favorite sort of post-ride poses for the hips. I'm going to take seated pigeon. So left foot stays on the floor, right ankle comes across that left thigh. Now, how close you bring that left foot just depends how tight your hips are. I'm going to slide mine in a little more. You might benefit from having the hands behind you here, soft shoulders, just to keep the spine upright. Or if you feel pretty comfortable here, use that word loosely, go ahead and wrap the arms around that bent leg foot and squeeze your chest in towards that shin. Let's take 3 breaths here, please. Might be able to creep that left foot in a little more. Spine stays tall. Good. Go ahead and release both feet down. Bring the feet wide, hands behind you, let the knees roll in towards one another. Good. Stack those feet. Left ankle to right thigh this time. Slide that foot in towards you again. Hands behind you to get tall through spine. And then you decide whether you wrap the arms around that shin or not. This side for me is much, much tighter. So if you've got a tight side, know that that is pretty normal. Good. Last couple of breaths here for me, please. Good. Go ahead and release that foot. Come to a comfortable seated position. If the hips still feel pretty tight, you could grab a block or your book, pop that underneath your seat. And if you are on equipment, be on the very front edge so the pelvis can roll forwards. That way you'll get some space through the groin and the adductors here. Last little bit of work here for the spine. We'll take the arms overhead. Breathe in, close the eyes down for me. Exhale, turn your body to your right knee. Bring your front hand across that thigh and the opposite arm around behind you. Fingertips on the floor or perhaps the block or equipment you're sat on. And turn the chin to the back shoulder. Drive that chin in towards the neck. Shoulders stay soft. And let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Eyes can stay closed as you reach the arms up, turn forwards and then rotate through the opposite way. Front arm across the thigh, back hand behind you on the floor or your equipment. Head turns towards that back shoulder. Chin dips down towards the collarbones. Tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Good, arms reach up. Turn the body forwards. Sweep the arms behind you, interlace fingers and thumbs. Draw those knuckles back and down. Belly button lifts, ribs lift. Imagine there's a pencil between your shoulder blades and squeeze that pencil here as we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and release. And bring the hand down onto the thighs. Taking a moment of quiet here. Just allowing yourself to tune in to the sound of your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Bring the palms to meet in front of the chest. Thank you so much for choosing to practice with me today. Namaste.